Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's show. Right, symmetry, the Fibonacci sequence, the mathematical sequence for beauty. You've either got it or you haven't. Most of us haven't got it. Sibu Dladla, international supermodel and now fashion designer, has it in spades. In fact, he's so good looking, like you want to take your receipt back to God himself and demand a refund. I'm not even kidding. Sibu, welcome to the show.
Oh my God, that is too sweet.
Oh, well, thank you.
I'm speechless.
And he's accompanied by Peter Huffam, his business partner and other creative genius. So, welcome.
Whose looks should we pass over?
Forgive his looks. He should get
Radio,
his
It's
radio
all right, we're all in
looks.
the same camp. Like, you're like a black avatar. You're like 11 feet tall, beautiful. Like,
I'll thank my
manufactured
parents.
almost.
I'll
Really?
thank my parents. I really would. I'll send them a check and say thanks, Mom, Dad.
He does claim to be baked on both sides.
I have been.
Well, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on, guys.
Thank you for having us over. It's so exciting.
You are the chairman, CEO, and co-founder. Ooh, see, got you in there, Peter.
Thank you.
Of Jaded Life, which is I guess one of the hottest fashion labels in London right now.
It is up and coming hot, and that's what we don't claim to be much, but just really hot.
See, now you're being overly humble.
We don't. I think humble is good. It's very important because I think where I'm from, you have to be humble, and how far I've come. So I'll leave it there for now. But at the end of the day, I do believe that we are hot and up and coming.
We're getting there. On a midway scale between tepid and scorching, we're about halfway up.
How long have you two guys known each other or worked together?
Is it that kind of show?
Can be if you want it to be.
Can we go there? Well, interesting enough, Peter's always had an eye for fashion. You know, I mean, we got together. We're a couple.
That's obvious. He's wearing a very charming and lovely jacket by I think your label.
Yes,
Yes.
100%. It was not meant to be. We didn't have a symmetry sort of idea in mind when we got out of bed saying let's look the same. But unfortunately, a lot of the samples have gone out, so we just had to grab what was around.
Well, that's fine. Well, the jackets are really good. I actually texted you last night to point out that they were really cool. In fact, I want one of them. And the trousers. Anyone listening to this as an audio, I recommend you go to the YouTube channel, Ethan McKinley's Questionable, and check out the lovely Sibu and Peter on the video as they are sporting these very charming and lovely jackets.
But to answer your question then, Ethan, directly, we hooked up in 2006 in Cape Town when Sibu was primarily promoting the event side of the company.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, the fashions were to some extent on the back burner, but in relocating here to London, they've come very much to the fore. And excitingly, we have the shop outlet, we have all kinds of initiatives, fashion shows coming up. And that's very much what we want to focus on at the time being, while we still do events at the same time. And the two often complementary. Perhaps, Sibu, you want to explain how the two go hand in hand?
Yeah, was it you were working for an events company and then you guys met? Or
No. What happened is, I studied fashion. I finished high school, I studied fashion. And that was always really deeply, like a deep passion of mine. I just always understood it. I think coming from a third generation seamstress, because my grandmother was a seamstress, my aunt was a seamstress, and used to work at factories and stuff like that. So it was kind of like I was always around it. You know, if people weren't cooking, they were making. If they were making food, they were making
pattern
clothes.
work, textiles.
Yeah. And I just took it to the next level, and I actually went to study for it because a lot of the people just didn't study; it just came naturally. I studied at the Haute Couture School of Fashion Designing, which is quite prestigious in South Africa. And I thought I finished my degree, and I thought I was going to climb right into fashion, and unfortunately, fate would not have it like that. Fashion would climb onto me. I landed up being scouted by some strange man came up to me walking in the water.
Sex tourist.
I was like, exactly. I thought,
Are we in Sri Lanka or Thailand? No.
I was like, what are you doing? Sort of
This is in Cape Town, right?
This is in Cape Town. A well-spoken man who came up to me with a French accent, and he said, blah, 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 you're really beautiful. I can't even do a French accent. However...
First, you can do an American accent. We'll come to that later in the show.
Eventually, I think 3 months later, I was in Paris modeling for Paul Gaultier. It was just like that. And it was just literally a whirlwind. And from there, it was Emmanuel Ngaro, it was Milan, it was Paris, London, and it just became that, thrusted into that lifestyle. And
is it difficult to leave? Because I imagine it's fun and
it's
well paid.
It's well paid when you are the hot news, you know, and I think that's a really good question, because a lot of models
It's a
don't know when to
misconception.
go. You know, like, you need to know that in life, there's about 1% of the like top models are the only ones that can really
So it's like
sustain.
acting,
Make a
singing,
whole
any of the
lifestyle
arts,
out
or
of it, yeah.
I think acting's a little
Career.
better, because acting is like you've got maybe 5% of the people really stay there. You know,
I guess you have a bigger window in which to work in as well. You're
Exactly,
not like
exactly.
checked
I think modeling is like, okay, tomorrow we think red Indian's hot, so everybody looks like a red Indian's gonna make money.
tattoos and beards, the Shoreditch look.
You know,
Yeah.
and then now that's the look, and it's gonna ride until the wave rides. So the time I was doing it, it was a huge androgyny, very unique looking people were making a lot of money, and so that was luckily the wave I was riding. And I learned a lot at the time, because I was not the kind of person to just go into a shoot. I was actually the really annoying model who kept asking the stylist, "Oh, how does that work? I think you should put it like that. I think the belt goes there." And I remember having so many stylists saying they actually wouldn't work with me.
Is everything all right? Yeah, that bloody
Really?
kid keeps
They-
asking me about pattern
They
work.
wouldn't- wait,
He's meant to be walking down the catwalk.
Are they that precious about it though? Surely it's like, you know, all
I think-
input is interesting input.
I think more when I work here in London, people are more like that. They're more,
Really?
yeah.
Okay.
I think it's Italy and Paris were really regimented. You just don't tell the stylist anything.
But
Oh,
those roles
okay.
are very
Yeah.
demarcated.
They're
I'm
like,
the
you
stylist.
just cannot.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you coming here to freaking take my
You're
job.
here to be
bitch.
a clothes hanger.
Sorry, oops.
Kind of.
My first B word.
Insubordination. You can swear. That's the thing. I mean, well, the
Alright.
whole point of the podcast is you can speak freely.
Yeah, well, I've not.
Okay.
I've
Say
not seen
anything
this,
you
yeah.
want.
Those fucking bloody stylists. Get a grip, man.
I was going to say, actually, sorry to interrupt you. We'll make a time note as we go through. We can put some of Sibu's modelling photos up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, please. Absolutely.
Uh,
So yeah, it happened then. You know what happened, to be honest? It just, a lot of bad things happened, like, you know, the drinking and the late nights started coming out, and then, you know, you just fall into the wrong crowd, and
As Peter
you know,
reaches for his drink.
and then your agency's not really happy with you,
Been
and they
driven
send
to
you
it.
home to clean your act up, and you know, you clean your act up,
Just to
then
be sent
I
back again.
found my passion again when I was
Okay.
when I went home. I was like,
In the downtime.
this is really what I want to do. This is the clothes. This is what, you know, playing around with like sewing stuff together, going out and putting something together was just, it was more thrilling for me than just doing it. I mean, of course, I was still doing the shows here, working with FTV, Fashion TV, and all these kind of things. Eventually, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna start my own company. And we did with my best friend at the time.
When was that?
This was about 2004 or 5.
Okay.
5, I think 2005 actually. And then started the company, and me and my friend were just having fun with it. It wasn't serious. It wasn't like let's take on Tom Ford or at the time Gucci. We were just having fun, and we did our first fashion show, and it was so unbelievably well organized that the people who were at the show just absolutely, everybody just was so blown away at how well organized it was. The time, the sushi, everything came out on time. The show was right on time. Everything
Yeah,
was
because
just
you hear so
amazing.
much about people sort of, you know, still like pinning things
You
together
know, at the
backstage
back-
as the models are about to walk
No.
out.
And
yeah.
I was very lucky to
Alexander
have...
McQueen famously, within 5 minutes of the models taking to the catwalk, he'd be doing that.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adjusting bustles
How do you
and things
gather
like
the
Yeah.
money together? Because I imagine it's like 5, 10, 20,
It
30,000 pounds
was-
to put a fashion show on?
At that time, to be honest, we were quite lucky because I had saved up a lot of money as a model, and I was good at saving. I always have been good at saving. There's always a nest egg somewhere. I always believe that you have to be clever in life. You can't just, you know, in the good times, you must think of the bad times that
Yeah.
make follow. You know, so I had saved something, and my friend had just had a little bit of money because he came from kind of a more, I would say, lucrative background than I did. And we threw some stuff together, and we threw the show. And what happened was, what transpired was, forgive me, was actually an events company, because the actual venue that we threw it at hired us full time as an events company.
Oh, because they were so
They
impressed
were
by
so
how smoothly.
impressed. We even had the
right.
cleaners clean up, and when the guy opened the doors, the place
Isn't that
was
nice?
sparkling
It's
clean. It smelled minty fresh when you walked in. He was like, "Did they have a show last night?"
This room's minty. Sibu been in here.
And we got a contract for 6
Okay.
months to do their events, and that's yet another reason why the fashion took a back seat, you know, because unfortunately you're young, you're thinking, well, here's this guy offering us money to do these events.
It's all skill, though. It's all building
And
up.
also it's experience
to
and sort
why.
of, you
It
know,
was amazing. We did so many
references
shows.
from people saying, you know, in contacts. So it's always
Absolutely.
worth it. You know.
Absolutely. We did shows, we did brand launches, and each and every one has such a meticulous, different little segment. So if you're doing a fashion show, you're doing a wedding, you're doing a brand launch, you're doing a marketing launch, you're doing a PR launch. There were so many things that we learned on the way, you know. So after that happened, I simultaneously became a stylist at the same time because I was still in love with fashion so much and I couldn't let it go. And I worked with international brands at the time. I worked with a lot of magazines, GQ, Maxim. I got to be on the other side as a stylist where I used to be hated so much. And I realized how all these jobs are so entangled with each other. You know, you
Is it hard to break into that when just kind of coming in from the cold, essentially, when you just like trying to get styling work?
I was very, very, very lucky. I think that when you come to London, it's incredible just sheerly because of the sheer numbers of how everybody's trying to get into it. You know, you've got 5,000 people trying to be a stylist. In South Africa, you've got 30 people, 200 people maybe trying to do what you're doing. So it was quite easily because it's a developing market. And
Which I imagine helps here because you've already got a portfolio and a book of stuff.
unbelievable. And I've worked with international supermodels.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've styled some top models. I've worked with Candace Swanepoel, who's the face of, you know, she's the face of Dior and Versace, you know. And she's in my book, you know, which is really great because she's an amazing person despite the fact that it took so long for her to be also famous because everybody thinks she just became famous. Actually, she took 10 years to get to where she is.
10 years to be an
And I
overnight
can
success,
tell you
right?
that she was not the way she looked now. You know, she was quite big and she lost. So a lot of this stuff is marred with modeling. We really have to. Will take a long time to break through the holes of really finding out that.
Is there not a lot of damage on that journey shedding weight? Because I know a girl, Charlotte. I won't say her second name, but
I think
she
we
was
know
like-
her too. I think we're good friends with her.
she was famous for the. She was thrown out of Fashion Week in 2007 or 6 for being the
Like you
central
talking
face of
about
the
this.
size zero debate.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of pressure on people? Is that just something I guess the agencies do just to say, look, we are doing something, but really it's kind of an open secret that everyone has to be like super thin, and there's that invisible pressure, and
I agree.
how does it work?
I think the impetus is on the designers. I think, you know, as a designer, I feel like you have to not follow suit. I think you have to really be brave and swim across the current, because if you don't do that, then you're not setting a precedent. You know, if you believe that I want to get some karaoke models to represent some sort of, you know, or black models or Indian models or anything that just is going against the norm, you're ostracized. You alienated. You know, why are you going in this direction? You know, people don't get this, and it also.
They think you're being contrarian just for the sake
Is
of
it the same for men's fashion, like men's
It
models?
is.
Kind
It's
of. I
even
mean,
worse.
I think it's less obvious for the general public because, you know, they see the women and they see like, oh, super skinny woman. But I think with men's models, that, you know, they just see, oh, it's a range of men, but usually white, I guess.
But it's always usually obviously the certain guy. You know, it used to be that Marlboro guy. Then now it's that guy.
they all have that look.
Yeah, that look. You know,
Yeah.
that American tan,
Sort of long
super
fa-
teeth,
overly
long
face,
face.
yeah.
And you just,
Rectangular.
you know, you just look like you're gonna jump on a
Rugged.
speedboat,
Yeah.
and you're just gonna take her and save the world. You know, James Bond-esque sort of. But for me, it's like there's so many different types of men. I mean, what about the guy who's fat and bald? You know, how does he feel when he's staring at these pictures?
Well, do you want them in your kind of in your market? Because
If
is it
there was-
is
if-
it the Hollister guy or is it the Abercrombie guy?
Those kind of
Yeah,
guys.
they're like, we don't want those kind of people, and it got out, didn't it? And there was a
Oh,
bit of
yeah.
a scandal.
We were told also, like, you know, to use. I had a comment when they showed, like, why are you modeling in your own fashion stuff?
Because he's beautiful.
They're like, you're too beautiful to be in your own fashion thing, and in your fashion campaign. And I said, look,
Tom Ford does though, doesn't he?
all the
Like,
time,
yeah.
all the time. But because you're not Tom Ford, you're not allowed to do it. You know, it's not done for. And when you think about all the supermodels, look at Kate Moss. She's doing always her own campaign. You
So
know
the idea is, unless you're established, how dare you have the audacity to perform, not perform, but to appear in your own product.
Absolutely. And I think that is ridiculous. I think you have to set your own precedent and say, look, I'm carving out something special, and what I believe in is this, and I'm basically trying to groom my own market.
Well, that's
you
what
know?
Peter said before the show,
Well,
like
it's
the
partly-
inclusion. Yeah, sorry.
So yeah, the risk of talking over. It's partly needs must. It's partly economics. Working on quite a small budget, but in this case, if you have such an obvious asset as a vehicle for the brand, why not? I know it's not the convention. But the designer ordinarily doesn't.
No, he isn't, but he's got such a unique androgynous look. I mean, you know,
You guys
you're
are making
you're
me
a one
hot.
You are. It's like an avatar,
I
but
need
you're
to
not
take
blue.
my jacket off.
But going back to the point you were making earlier, Alex, I think it was with great justification when Sibu saw the range of skills that came together to produce a fashion show, and probably appreciated the, quite the short longevity that many models have, the fickleness of which looks are in at the time, and so it was, I think, well judged to move into events.
Yeah.
But the two very much are complementary,
Yeah.
and those contacts which you mentioned earlier, which have been vital, have really borne fruit 8, 9 years, 10 years down the line. When, for example, photographers who did a shot relaunch shoot here for us in London are now instrumental in launching a Cape Town-based initiative, part of the London Collections Men, the Dylan Jones new collections concept. And we are slated to be the only, I think, international
I think we're the only
company
international
in
company
this
showcasing
Cape
it,
Town
yeah.
new London Collections Men, and that's born of that contact made all those years ago.
Yeah.
So some people, it's not a question of loyalty, but they see the talent. But those contacts, if they maintain, can bear fruit down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's so important that in any career you have to have a repertoire. You know, for me, being a client, because a lot of models, I've worked with so many top models who've come through the doors and have come onto my stage. It's really strange to be that kind of person, because as much as I wished that I was the one walking down that catwalk too, but somebody had to put some clothes on these girls and boys, you know what I mean? So I would sit back and I knew that my time would come. You know, I knew that, okay, one day you just feel something which is like, you have to give something up, and I don't feel like I gave modeling up. It just grew into something else.
Yeah.
You know, it became something else which was more tangible and more sustainable for me. You know, just like
you have more control of as well.
Absolutely,
I think,
like
which you don't so much when it's just someone else's decision. Random decision who they put in a show. Well, not random,
Absolutely.
but subjective.
I think it's fair to say that Sibu's been more generous than is necessarily even good for him, so to speak. But again, maybe whether you believe in what goes around comes around or whatever, it has come right, and his extreme generosity has paid off. People will come back and trust him, etc., etc. And it's not a vanity figure either. Often he's backstage, for example,
sometimes I've
attend to the girls and they go up there, and he hasn't seen the show.
Sometimes exactly, like I would do shows, and we're talking about shows for like Lamborghini, and we have the most incredible show. And I have to watch it on the video, because on the monitor, because I don't know what's going on.
I'm here, but I can't be here.
I didn't see it. I just heard my Peter would tell me, "Oh, that was the most amazing show." Or, one of the service providers would write me a letter saying, "Wow, well done, guys. That was really incredible."
And that really speaks to Sibu's, I think, his professionalism, his dedication to get the details right. And going back to what you were saying earlier, these are that attention to detail in delivering a service, which I think sets certain providers, sets them against others. And the case in point, if you want to drop this in at this stage, is on the video, is the Cape Town Fashion Police, installment 3 at the Lamborghini show house. There really is quite a polished production that Sibu saw none of.
Yet another show, damn it. At the end of the day, I just, like I said, you have to have that love for what you're doing. You know what I mean? And London is definitely a challenging place. It's not like South Africa. It's different. It's the same, but it's different. But like they say, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere.
That's right. There was a real impetus then. There was a critical moment. Again, it's featured on the website. When in 2006, I really made the decision that I thought Sibu had gone as far as he could with this company in South Africa. If you like, a big fish in a small pond. And this was very much reinforced this point. When we met, let's give name dropping, we met Imam, the fashion
David Bowie's wife as well, and famous for the Tia Maria advert from the 1980s.
in Britain, famous for the Tia Maria advert. Yes,
I want to see that bloody advert.
exactly.
It's on YouTube, folks. Tia Maria advert, Iman. It's
And that's right. And she of course she loves Sibu. Oh, my younger brother. When they first met, and we had this business lunch, and she said encouraged Sibu very much to move to both London and New York down the line. You know, because I think that his talents or his charisma, even as a figure, as a vehicle,
the package
can command a larger stage.
Yeah.
And so coming to London was very much at that stage a commercial venture. So we're now then small fish in a bigger pond.
Have you not found any kind of embargoing or blocking from more established brands or people or events because you're like these young Turks who just barreled in? Like, who are these?
I could name a few people.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should.
Might
No,
not
I
be,
mean, like,
yeah.
people, like, you know, for me, it's really difficult because when you're somebody like me who's so warm, and I come from a place where I've helped so many people, and when you just asking for a little bit of help, you're just so surprised at how many people have this sort of I don't know if they're intimidated.
Well, it's a famine mentality,
It's
isn't it? It's
weird.
like, oh, if I give him a chance, it will stop me from getting a chance. And
You know, like,
it's
I
unfortunate because I think there's enough. If everyone helps each other and pull each other along, you've come on this show.
Yeah,
promote
I'll
you,
even name a
we
few
all-
designers. Like these people who have opened their hearts out to me. Like people like Sadie Clayton, love you. People like Pam Hoggs, sending love to you. People like Paula Banoza, I'm sending love to you.
I think the secure ones know
They're
that competition is to be
incredible.
welcomed. You're not really
Well, if
directly.
you all hold hands, you pull each other
Yeah.
along at the
You're
same
not
time.
stealing their pitch.
And the Pritch is another one. I mean, you're sitting there, she's telling me, like, Sibu, go to Italy, this is my service provider, this is a person who's doing this, blah, 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 check out this material shop, Sibu. That's the smallest little bit of information, you know? Whereas in people like Adrian Savage, is like, he just instantly just blocked me in a sense of like, I don't know if it because we're tall and both black, and he just felt like, oh my God, what's going to happen? This guy might be, but he's
Taking
far
my
more
niche.
established, you know what I mean? It's like,
we
you're
do
more
wish
established than I am, so-
Adrian well in all his
Of
ventures,
course,
and he's
of
come
course, of course, of
Yeah.
a
course.
great distance. But
Naturally,
there's
but it's the
certain
kind of show
reluctance
that we're on
possibly.
that, you know, people need to listen to something spicy, so fuck off.
Yeah.
So let's just
Just the
keep
element
it
of
the way it is.
competition,
It's
perhaps
funny.
from the African diaspora. Yes, that would be fair to say.
It's funny. I don't know, because you think, I don't know, the more new ideas and the more sort of inspiration there is out there, then the better it is for everyone, because everyone draws off that, and everyone like
It
bounces
bolsters
off,
your resolve to
bounces
push
off
you
other
forward.
people's
and
ideas, and also if
Ideally,
you make
but
people more
you can't-
excited about the industry, then people
Absolutely.
start buying into it more
Absolutely.
anyway.
Security, isn't it?
And one that has become one theme, which I made actually in a recent Mail Online article, is that the value of the fashion industry among the creative industries is quite significant now, up to £28 billion, I believe it was last year.
Well, there was
contribution
record
towards
sales
GDP.
last year during the recession. They were like,
Absolutely.
everyone was going crazy shopping in
Yeah.
the sales and all through
Yeah,
last
absolutely.
year. and stuff.
So, but if you were to read the serious financial press, fashion, it tends to be, pigeonholed, dismissed in the
Yeah.
little afterthought category. And
It's funny. It's like gaming as well, which is actually now huge. Like
Yeah,
big, much
absolutely.
bigger than film.
Absolutely. Well, think
Definitely
about,
growing faster than films.
Is that,
Anyway.
is that gambling?
Computer games.
Oh,
no.
sorry, I
Games,
thought you
yeah,
were
and
gambling
which is
because
another. It's kind of a newer
Other
art form, but
industries, and
people
you would
are
think that-
snobby about
you would
it.
think that,
Absolutely.
Clothes as well. I think it's because you wear them and they're functional. People are like, oh, it's not like art. It's
But
not,
the
it's not
kinship
it's not like
value-
wall art.
Oh,
You know?
exactly. There's a place for everybody. You know, at the end of the day, if you are doing something on a small scale for just a small community, like a local person servicing the little Indian community, or you're doing what we're doing, just servicing a little bit of a wider range audience, or if you're people who want to be in, House of Fraser or out there being in this kind of a mass market. Everybody has a little piece, you just have to do your work and, do your marketing and know who you're talking to at the end of the day, But I think there's place for everyone.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
Think really,
And I think that old distinction, marketing distinction between the haute couture people
Yeah.
and the Primarks, the ready-to-wear, the fun fashion, disposable fashion, that distinction has been dissolved.
Yeah.
People are less precious about it.
Well, also in the Star magazines, you've got like Kate Moss who's mixing, well, not just her, but everyone. They mix high street with couture and
Absolutely.
stuff. It's the marriage of the two.
Absolutely. So one time it was never done. You would never have, a Donatella Versace doing their collection for Primark or whomsoever.
Oh, I know.
H&M.
H&M has all those, collaborations.
Victor and Rolf, stuff like that.
People now think are less precious, but it's all, it was going earlier, it's all adding to that interest in fashion, that awareness of fashion, which dwarfs, for example, the car industry.
Yeah.
And other Britain's exporters. So I think we need to bang a drum for fashion and other creative industries too, if you think about...
I seriously think that also there should be a lot more legislation with regards to... I mean, I'm not from this country and I've received so much help by certain places like the East London Small Business Centre, which is getting another big up from them because they've really they've given us so much mentorship and much encouragement. Jim Price, we absolutely love you, and also financial backing.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, how are you going to get your concept out there if somebody loves your idea and nobody's willing to back you? You know what I mean? For us, it was not $1 billion to get us, into the next brand, but it was a shoe in the right direction for us to, stride into where we are right now.
Right.
I think that a lot more, especially from the governments, they have to release money into the arts.
I think there is a bit more of it right now. I think. I mean, I know there have been some. I know there are some companies that are like specifically set up to help people set up companies and like to fund them and so on.
Yes.
But I think they haven't really given it enough publicity.
I think the point Steve was making is
that in the arts, which is what we're particularly saying, because it's so easy for me to say I want to start a gardening service. Of course, they're going to give you some. They're going to give you a quick microloan because it's an input-output, Whereas in the end of the day, fashion is, we were all wearing clothes. We're not sitting here naked, although I wish we were.
I think that's the point, that the DTR equivalents, the Department of Industry, should have sector-specific support and encouragement. Because if, for example, a car factory was threatened with closure, they would rush to its defence, has a more emotional totemic value possibly than a clothes manufacturer. Exactly. If you're going to quite legitimately bail out a car company, I think Bridgend was an example, wasn't it, a test case a couple of years ago that was supported, and quite rightly so, then why not equally support fashion? Because the actual sum contribution to GDP is far greater.
I mean, just to reiterate, we've got like a private client that we definitely can't mention, but to have a meeting with him and a presentation and showing him everything, he understands, oil and mines and all that kind of stuff. That's what he does. I'm not talking about you, but for them, it's kind of difficult to understand the business of fashion, know. And I think that's also marred in all the secrecy and all the animosity and the industrial espionage that people have. The brands just have that natural secrecy. And I think it just has to be more transparent. And I think that as designers, the way we are, the few designers I know that we're a collective, and if I have a phone call and I say, listen, Paula, I'm having a hard time, and she's like, Sibu, you having a hard time? I've got 100 freaking bags that haven't sold. That's a hard time. And you feel better, because I'm not saying, I'm languishing in the fact that she's that, but the fact that I have somebody to speak to,
Yes, yeah.
So when I say government, I think there should be so much more done, in essence, to have a platform or a forum that allows it to be more organic, and not when we have Fashion Week and everybody puts on their 9-inch stilettos and cobbles around in all these in these lines, and nothing really gets done. We have four days of madness, of insane fashion.
So
but what
Christmas week.
Exactly. What do I walk away with? I walk away with some free shampoo and some, some hand cream. Thanks.
I think it goes back to the point I was trying to make earlier about the seriousness with which, or lack of it, that the financial press gives to fashion. If you pick up the FT weekend from MB, you'll have endless feature articles on other sectors, but not fashion.
Yeah.
And the
Software,
huge conglomerates, LV, MH, Louis Vuitton, Moët Hennessy, all the rest of it, these are big revenue earners of added value. And they're on every high street, and they're not taken seriously. It is partly cloaked. There's a certain kind of mystique and allure about a number of these houses, but it's a business at the end of the day, and all businesses demand, I think, an equal respect.
I think there should be that social responsibility, especially if you're on that level. You know, as a big designer, let's do what Topshop is doing. Mad credit to Topshop. Like, I love them for doing that. You know, having that platform to say, okay, we are going to invest in 5 designers a year and give them that free, spot, which hopefully.
Who are these designers? Are they just kids fresh out of fashion college, or
yet another situation, which is the problem, because you're gonna. What did Pam Hogg say? Which is one of my favorite designers. She's always at Fashion Week. She's literally like just the Vivienne Westwood's twin.
She looks very much. I got the confused. Someone pointed that out to me about 2 years ago.
She's very hands-on. Going back to what you were saying earlier about Alexander McQueen, she did hand stitches everything.
Stitches everything, and like 2 weeks before the show, she starts working, and then boom, she's Pam Hogg. That's how we roll, and she's amazing. And the problem she said also was that the next generation of designers are all going to be rich kids. They all come from rich backgrounds, because everyone can't go to St. Martin's.
That's right.
And not everyone can go to Lysop. There is also the thing of the 80% of people who do go to those places don't land up working, So it also is put into balance. However, I'm not.
Well, I imagine there's no passion behind it if they're just a bunch of rich kids. They just go, I just fancy doing fashion, because there's no drive to kind of do it and commit to that and come out and do stuff.
Exactly.
It's like a frivolous thing they do, right?
Exactly.
It's old age question of privilege, I think, really, that these people, I met a ton of them, who are St. Martin's graduates in the main, other well-known fashion schools too. And they compete in these industry-sponsored events, the London Collections Men one being the top sponsored one. And they have these incredible resources, but many of them are sort of West London rich kids. And the likes of us can't really begin to compete against them in terms of resources.
In terms of resources, I mean, I think talent.
Sorry, Sibu, can I just ask you to turn your mic?
Sorry.
That's it. A bit more towards you. Yeah,
sorry, baby. Sorry. I think in terms of resources, it's just, I don't have, dad that can just give you £100,000 to do
it's float money as well. Because if stuff's not working, usually they just buy time to make it work.
Absolutely.
The figure you quoted earlier, Ethan, isn't far from the mark when you say how much does it cost to launch a fashion show. In round figures, at least £20,000 is the answer.
And that's for one day?
A shoestring,
for one day.
A shoestring collection show.
If you're doing it over consecutive days, it's that much again, or
if you do, the fact is to get into Fashion Week, London would be about £20,000.
And how does one do it? Who are these the gatekeepers, if you will, that get you in? Who do you need to speak to?
The parameters would be you speak to the the British Fashion Council, but they have criteria. So you have to have been stocked by 3 to 6 shops. You have to have been in business for 3 years. And so on. If you want to go to the big one, which is the really big brand one, you have to be stocked by 12. You have to be, and so on and so forth. So the criteria rises as the years and the bigger the bigger the stages. So Burberry would obviously take the most, expensive slot, and they've been around forever, and they've, so on and so forth. But what I'm saying is that it's important that the other, not only just Topshop, H&M, Burberry, everybody comes together and say, okay, let's all make slots for one person that we believe in. If we could have 40 of these big designers saying, okay, that's 40 new designers who will be launched onto a platform, not 3 every season, and the same 3 every season, because basically once you're in, you basically have a 3-year cycle. So, and that's a bit too technical for this conversation, but at the end of the day, it just gives you an idea that there are so many talented people who fall on the wayside because of just lack of resources and lack of mentorship.
How does it work how do you two work together, first of all, as a team, and from the first stitch to the finished product? How do you go from that to obviously selling it?
Sibu is given very much a free hand creatively. He's the head. He's the only designer, really. I have no veto say.
He does have a say. I think it's important to always. I always do run it past him. I do say, look, this is what we want to do. This is the idea we're going for. I mean, that second collection is going to be more sportswear and urban, and that's coming from just what we've visioned and what we've seen. It's not necessarily something that I was sleeping and had an idea. It's more practical, because I realized, like, hold up, every day I go to yoga, every day I go to Pilates, every day I'm in the gym. Every bloody person is jogging. Everyone's cycling. It's summertime. People want to get healthy. People want to look sexy for their holidays coming up. So to not see that is in itself just a niche, that okay, we want to do something which is going to allow people to look sexy sports wise. I'm not saying I want to do gym clothing, that's not my thing. I want you to know that we are going to be doing a more commercial range. It's going to be a
like
diffusion.
DKNY versus Donna Karen.
I would say Alexander McQueen versus
McHugh.
like something like that.
Yeah.
It would still have a high fashion signature, but it would be something that you could still wear out if you want to go clubbing.
Yeah.
But it's so comfortable, you could ride a bike with it.
I think that's a virtue of all our collections, is they're eminently wearable. We don't indulge in those, high-level design cues, which are simply unwearable. So with practicality, necessity, again, back to economics. So this is very much Sibu's remit within his creative flair. As you ask, my role within the company is more of administration, paperwork, that sort of thing. I do the website.
You can't do that, it's too expensive.
Peter's really good
I have some awareness, some informed by a great deal of overseas living of international trends and cultural differences and what have you, and what may work here, may not work there, that kind of thing. But sometimes we're talking about maybe the lack of opportunities of platforms for showcases, and it being an entrenched industry, difficult to break into. We do have, in fact, an opportunity right around the corner from here, literally a stone's throw from the studio, on Trafalgar Square at South Africa House. So I should pass over to Sibu as a South African to maybe tell you about that.
That is, that is 20 years of democracy. Obviously 20 years ago we were suffering under the old regime, and then of course Nelson Mandela freed.
Well, you met him, didn't you, as a schoolboy?
I did. Oh my god, I didn't know you guys were going to talk about this. Obviously because he's passed on now, it's quite a sensitive subject, because you don't want to come across as being contrived and using his name for glory, because his name for me really is like a family member has died for me. I'm not a family member, don't get me wrong, but I think any South African who ever loved him, and I think anybody in the world who ever loved him, felt like that. You felt like you could relate to somebody's struggle, whether or not you even went through that struggle. I didn't go through that struggle. My parents went through that struggle. I was born in the 80s, so I was a young boy when we just had this whole new South Africa. And
is there still a division out there? Or?
There. I think most South Africans will tell you that.
Because I watched the Louis Theroux documentary the other day about the Boer separatists, how they wanted a nation state within the country.
You're always gonna have your extremists. You know what I mean? You're gonna have your extremists everywhere in the world, like you have.
They have this very far right, almost Nazi.
They're very Nazi
viewpoint. Yeah. They're all in military outfits, even when they're just going to the shops and stuff. And
it's quite scary.
Yeah.
I watched the same program, and as a South African, you really have to understand that you never really see people like that when you're in South Africa. Because they're on the outskirts, and it's kind of like here, if you hear about, those
they said they didn't care about Johannesburg. You could all keep. They said they could all keep that, whatever that means.
They're very much a defensive, embattled group, and there is a significant white working class, predominantly Afrikaner, as opposed to British descended. The whites of South Africa fall into two camps. But it is. Sorry.
I think personally, because I grew up with so many different type of people. I mean, you grew up in the white suburbs,
almost cosmopolitan
of Cape Town. We grew up in the Milnerton, Camps Bay, all the really.
So it wasn't like harsh. A 1950s Louisiana. Coloured's only water fountains. And
I mean, obviously, when I say my parents had that, they had that. They had that sort of you weren't allowed to be here, but engrossingly more for us, we never experienced it. So it's quite for me, it would be unfair and just to say yes, I walk around in South Africa and see people with a neo-Nazi points of view. No. I don't see people like that. Not in Cape Town, not in Johannesburg. No. If you're going to go outside the borders, where you're going to the farmlands,
so like the bumpkins and the yokels,
the country bumpkins. It's difficult because I do understand.
What's the English? The
Birmingham. That's right.
No. I mean not UKIP, although they're going that way.
God.
What's the defence? The EDL or whatever. And,
UKIP.
Defence League.
In the Defence League, and all the sort of nationalistic ones here as well. But again, you don't really see them in London or like
you really don't.
big
Thing is,
cities
I
as
don't
much.
know,
They're all kind
it's,
of on the outskirts somewhere. And
Absolutely.
It's weird because when people came here in the 50s and 60s, they came here to do all the jobs. All the white people were either too lazy or didn't want to do like picking up the garbage or driving the bus and stuff. And now they've established themselves, and that you've got doctors and lawyers and all the professions and things.
Which
and
is their
everyone
third generation, obviously. Yeah.
But everyone that I've ever met over like 60 times go, oh, the immigrants and this is happening. You're like, it's not really.
But not to make light of that era 20 years ago, it has to remember that it was 94 only when the change in South Africa took place of democratization. So Sibu was, and his older brothers were among the first black kids to go to a white integrated school.
Yeah, it was so scary. Some people actually, I'll give you an analogy that they were just, I mean, I was so young. My brother was about an age before me, like 2 years above me, but he got it really bad. He got real racism. I was still quite young, so I was like maybe about 9 years old, and so everybody didn't really care about it. You know, you're really young, you're just like, oh, that really hurt. Oh, let's play, let's be friends. You know, and then you're swimming, and then you go to slumber parties, and that's how I grew up, and that's how my brother thinks. That's how my brother.
Let's have a pillow fight, boys.
You know?
Let's forget racism.
Oh, you know, that's how it was. And the same people I'm friends with.
My negligee has fallen.
I was like, oh my lord, the indecency.
Oh, you met him. You met Becky, yes.
These white boys.
Oh my lord, I didn't know you had that. 20 years on, we're still friends, you know what I mean? And I think I speak for them, because I know they're more South African. They are truly South African. When I think of them, the girls and the boys from the Afrikaans speaking, the English speaking, they're Portuguese, they're Italian. All my friends come from different backgrounds. Like myself, I'm Swazi and Indian. But all of us are still friends, you know what I mean? So
is your brother friends with the people he was at school with, or?
Yes.
Yeah, he is now.
Yes,
okay,
so that's what I mean. People
Start a political party called the Slumber Party, and you can like battle racism and prejudice wherever you go.
Pillow at a time.
His brother's very much one of those emblems in that Benetton
The
style.
flag is a pillowcase.
There's a measure of racial integration embodied by Sibu's older brothers. You make mention of him. In that he's a singer in a band, and he's fellow singer or backing singer.
Oh yes, I will say I'll give my brother a plug, because you know I absolutely love him. He's actually quite a huge part of why I'm also here in London. He lived here in London before I did. He went on to follow his dream and became a recording artist. They've won a South African Music Award and nominated for a MTV Music Award, which
What's
is
the category? Best alternative rock
in MTV Africa.
That's
And they're incredible, you know what I mean? They are doing their second album.
Okay.
He's just a little bit older than me. He's like 2 years older than me.
Yeah.
What a
What's the band
high-achieving
called?
family. Makes you sick.
The band is called, now they've, strangely enough, I don't understand, because I was quite a huge fan of the ice cream and chocolate stick, because there was a white guy and a black guy rapping.
Oh, right, yeah.
So it was like, the ice cream was obviously the white guy, and a little Eminem type of Justin Timberlake type of guy, and then my brother, who would be sort of, I would say, common sense comes Lil Wayne, you know. And ironically, they opened for Lil Wayne. So,
oh wow!
So
oh.
he's an
Is he
inspiration.
all tattooed like Lil Wayne?
No, he doesn't believe in tattoos. He doesn't believe in tattoos.
Less
But he
incarcerated
belie-
to see a little way.
He believes in Xbox. He loves Xbox. But a shout out to my boys in
Did
South
they
Africa.
change the name though? You said. Or?
They changed the
Oh,
name
right.
to the Paradox, because
Okay.
now they're going to be going to America, which is
and they thought people might
and
be
like not
uptight about it.
And the
Okay.
whole color reference is funny in South Africa, but in America and
It's
I think
still a
in
bit
UK it might be a
sensitive.
bit might be questionable. You know,
Just like this podcast.
well, I mean, yeah. So, guys, that's pretty much how we are and what our beliefs are, and that's.
So
I think
we have this show around the corner
Mm.
to mark 20 years of South African
Oh, yeah.
democracy
yes. Sorry.
at South Africa House, which, if you're
Right.
not
Just
familiar with
up
it,
there, yeah.
listeners, is opposite Canada House, adjacent to the National Gallery, right slap bang onto
Nearest
onto
tube
Vicar
is Charing
Square.
Cross or Temple.
Yes.
Bakerloo line.
Please do request tickets. Do not show up at the door. You will not be allowed to come in. I'm joking. Well, actually, at the end of the day, we've just been invited by the South African embassy to showcase as designers.
Oh,
you
that's
know?
great.
So I don't believe there are tickets on sale. There would be probably invitations that will be going out to certain special people who are inviting.
Segregation already. Shameful.
I was looking at you and saying you're invited, damn it. Of course you two are invited.
It's part of a four-day celebration
Really?
on
Yeah.
Trafalgar Square. I'm sure there'll be
Is it going to be
big
open
press coverage.
to the? Okay, is it going to be
I
open
imagine
to
it will
the public?
spill
at
out
some
onto
point?
the.
should
I'm sure it
be,
will.
but
Naturally,
I
yeah.
think the fashion show is going to be about like 3-4 other designers who are young designers, South African based London designers or South African designers based in South Africa who are flying up. We're just going to be showcasing, and they're going to having a VIP party, I think. At the end of the day, that's what we've been invited to do. It's not our event
Right.
per
Yeah.
se. It's
Yeah.
just we're
There it is,
celebrating.
Brew. I found it.
We are definitely celebrating with South Africa for 20 years of democracy. So at the end of the day, that's what we are.
Yeah, I mean, the
excited
huge
about.
strides that obviously have been made in the country, but there's still many problems stubbornly remain.
Yeah.
And another great icon and fellow Nobel Prize winner, along with Mandela, that we were fortunate to meet, was Tutu, was Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who was the presiding.
Because in his like badass purple robes.
He
stuff.
was.
Call me,
I like
but call
him.
me
I like
Art.
him.
She says,
He
call me
seems to have a
Art.
bit of a-
He was so
He
sweet.
seems to have a sense of
though.
humour. I like
He
him.
was so
He's
sweet.
funny.
Very,
Yeah.
very nice guy, and he was so nice. Like it was just like I could just listen to you talk. Or just read me a bedtime story, please.
We lived a stone's throw, but from St George's Cathedral, where he was the resident archdeacon and archbishop, sorry. And we met on a number of occasions. And for me, he represents that voice of Mandela's generation. He's still pointing out the injustices, the very evident.
Even in the new,
Yeah.
in the ANC.
I think he's
which
true
is
to
right
those, kicking against the
now.
establishment ideals.
Yeah.
I think leaving politics behind, I will say one thing is that I just hope that his legacy is not going to go in vain, because I think Mandela really
Will get
changed.
homogenized by McDonald's in 10 years or something.
I just hope that it doesn't go in vain. Like I hope that people realize that.
Use him as some marketing thing.
I'm talking, man. I'm talking about. Honestly, I think I don't want to say anything bad about, as I'm not into politics, but I think that people should just know that, to not just believe what you hear and make your own mind up, because I think a lot of South Africans are just going with the flow, and if you go out, and sometimes what we've had our mentor saying, take a step back and look in.
Well, also I think
and
with
you
any kind of
realise-
news, you should get it from more than one source, or look at 3 different places. Somewhere the truth is in the
Lies.
middle, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So as part of that transition from being a South African-based company, manufacturing South Africa, and being, to use that phrase, proudly South African. And again, one thing we should mention to highlight regarding Mandela is that the company that produced the jackets I'm wearing here today.
yes.
Well, his
Show
famous shirts, aren't
show
they?
us the
Exactly.
show us the insides. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, they're
it's
quite
I love
jazzy.
that.
They're practically
linings.
reversible.
Beautiful.
Yeah, they're basically, the company is Fahrenheit, and they've got the only rights to recreate his shirts. Because, he had some colourful shirts, yeah. So we basically put them inside.
So is that
as
a
like-
patented pattern or design?
It's a patented by the company that we were using. So it's not exclusively for us, but it's exclusively for the specific company called Fahrenheit.
But it is very much a
Thank you
tribute
so much
to
for letting us use that, just in
Thank
case.
you, Fahrenheit.
it is a tribute to
Yeah.
Mandela in a sense.
Absolutely.
But then this is now, we're now, as a London-based company, beginning to manufacture here,
Okay.
either in London or further afield in Europe. We've been scouting locations of factories in Italy, wherever it may be, broader, Turkey, for example, further afield. So we have to.
Is that where you? I mean, is Europe where you go for sort of quality quality garments? I mean, because obviously
Where does
a
Primark
lot
get
of
their stuff
well,
made?
exactly, a lot of stuff that's made in
Bangladesh.
China and Bangladesh and stuff.
Bangladesh.
And do you not ever look at places like that because the quality is not going to be
I think
the quality control maybe is
Well,
hard?
it's a very interesting question. Just 2 days ago, we had a meeting with an Italian guy who comes from a family where they're still hand stitching shirts, which even here in German Street, that art, that skill has been lost.
Not-
It doesn't
do you mean
come
hand
cheaply.
stitching with like a needle and thread,
Uh,
not
Yes.
a sewing
needle and
machine?
thread.
Yeah.
Not on a.
These are, I imagine,
Nothing.
women hunched over, whatever the image is. Sorry, but I imagine
I
it
was
is.
blown away because I
generational-
know my
It's minimal human
grandparents-
rights abuses, it's fine.
My grandmother used to do stuff like that, but I mean, like nobody hand stitches. I mean, Valentino will probably hand stitch a dress, but it's going to cost you £14,000 for a dress like that. But for them, when we spoke to these people, incredible that people still have those. They don't want to lose that art because, and he was telling us that actually. In this generation, they don't know how to do what they're doing. So when these ladies go into the next world,
it will be lost.
Which is a damn shame. You know?
I was surprised that German Street couldn't provide you with a hand-stitched shirt.
No.
So clearly in this country too.
Street of tailors, isn't it?
On the other end of the spectrum, as you mentioned, Bangladesh, for example, notorious for all kinds of abuses, etc., etc.
I think
the issue of ethics generally in the fashion industry is a key one. Whether it be,
but then you can't buy a T-shirt for £3, can you?
Exactly.
That's the problem.
And that's where the fight is, because at the same time, I'm also the same way. You just am I a designer who can afford to spend £5,000 on a jacket, a crocodile skin jacket? No, I cannot. You know what I mean? But do I walk past Primark and grab a quick T-shirt and run to gym with it? Yes, I am. So we have to come to a balance where we're saying, okay, look, I have to know that as a designer, I have to be a man of my word and say, okay, cool, I'm going to support other designers who are sustainable, who are doing things the right way and are doing an honest job. I'm not against China because some of the people have reformed. China has changed their way because they knew that it wasn't going to work. And I think hats off to the Chinese because they said, you know what, look, you said we can't do quality, let's show you quality. And some of the stuff is, they're doing they've got the biggest clients now still.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah.
And then Bangladesh is heading towards that route. I think that I'm not too sure how fast they're getting there.
But to make a serious point, as Sibu was saying, when you zip into Primark and the like, you take on trust within fast fashion that these clothes are made in an equitable manner.
I just don't see how they could be.
They're probably not when they're so cheap. But so with that in mind, and given the background from which Sibu comes, we do ensure that factory workers are paid above statutory minimum wage, etc. There is an awareness because so few clothes are manufactured ethically. But there is an awareness that our workers are probably remunerated, etc., etc. And it's something we're very keen on.
Any young designers who wouldn't be sustainable. Because the fact is you can't.
Well, everyone's very socially minded.
You can't go to a big factory and order 10 garments. I can't go to China and say, "Can I please have 10 of those?" They would laugh at you. They work on 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. Units.
So the reason you're looking in Europe, is that partly because there are factories that will do smaller unit numbers?
Italy
because it's
perfect for what we're about, because they would be 30s maximum to some places that they do. I'm saying 30 units.
I suppose it's also easier to visit to check
logistics and quality control. If Sibu is in South Africa, he knows these factory suppliers that the company mentioned earlier, then he can monitor that. And indeed, in his own family home, he has machines for finishing purposes and what have you. Whereas we don't have that facility here in London. So to go to somewhere tried and tested with a fantastic pedigree, Italy in this case, then we know we're going to get a quality product. And it's close enough to visit to jump on a budget airline.
And you're helping these people in their communities, because let's all not remember that Italy it's not all the glitz and glamour and Saint-Tropez and all those kind of places.
We've seen The Godfather.
Exactly.
Well, actually, also a lot. Is it like South Italy? Some of it.
I think it's.
I was always surprised. When I went through, because obviously all the sort of bits that everyone thinks of in Italy are in the north, but the south is actually really quite poor.
Well, the glamour showcases of Italian fashion, the Moda, is obviously the north and Milan. Many of the factories that we'll be dealing with, for example, we're more probably kind of central Italy, east of Napoli, east of Naples, that kind of region. But some.
Beautiful, actually.
Sorry?
Beautiful around there.
It is
one of my favourite parts.
It's really beautiful.
Not Naples itself, but east of it.
But some of the southern regions, which are poorer, do have these families which have passed on the traditions of sewing and crafts for generations, which we should support, obviously.
Just to go back to the point you made earlier about the designs, what's the design ethic? You've got the African influence in this Sophia town, I think, which is mentioned on the website.
Okay, you can pass me the lookbook quickly, then I can go through some of the ideals of what we did.
If you are listening to this, folks, once again, go to the TV show version on Ethan McKinley's Questionable on YouTube, and we're going to pop up all these
Yeah.
Lovely clothes.
So, okay, well, the whole idea of Sapphire Town is in 1950, there was a city in Soweto, which was called Sapphire Town.
Sorry.
So now Soweto is obviously the city we all know because it's marred in, obviously, politics. But there was a vibrant city called Sapphire Town, which was actually well known for, if I could say it, was its time, in its day and time, it was the Shoreditch of its time.
Sure.
It was like the place to be. It was the
cultural
happening
hub.
spot. It was like place, let's go dance, and jazz, and the penny whistle came out of there, and it became really just transcendent.
It's a signature note in Kwaito music, if you're a music aficionado.
Absolutely. People like Miriam Makeba, who come from South Africa, would know that's where they made their names. They would be singing in the clubs, they would be singing sort of downtown in Sapphire Town. So that element,
it had a kind of a Greenwich Village counterculture feel to it too. The writers, artists, those kinds
Like
of
in
people.
New York, well, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And very sharply dressed folk.
Tribeca.
What would happen was like you'd have this outfit that all week you would be either sewing or you'd be working from wherever, and you'd save money to just buy this outfit to go and show it off and go and dance. And it wasn't about drugs and alcohol. It was just about that freedom and happiness and joy and jovialness.
Within oneself. I mean,
And,
again, contradictorily perhaps, but Desmond Tutu again embodied this. He said, how can you be dancing down the aisles? You're living under apartheid.
Of course.
I think people in those times, they were fully aware, fully conscious of the level of repression, and yet within themselves they found this vibrancy, this urgency, this flamboyance,
absolutely,
all of that. Yes.
So we took that as
an expression of that.
We took that as a theme. And we worked it into it because of just the diversity of colors, of structures. It wasn't necessarily about a specific style. There were so many different styles that they embodied. People would have your dandy boys, you would have your A-line skirts, you'd have your, every single thing worked. Whatever it was, as long as if you can pull it off and have a good time with it, that's how I believe fashion is. It's an extension of your soul, So at the end of the day, that's what we took impetus from and we put into our collection. Some of the stuff is very colorful. I mean, if you look at
the red jacket I've seen, that's a favorite of mine.
The red jacket,
one with the matching red stripe black pants.
Those are my favorite things.
Yeah.
They look very much like Victorian military trousers in a sense.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, that was
really got
that was a happy coincidence when we found that the shop in Notting Hill, our principal stockist, had been in its day a 60s hangout for
Hendrix and the Stones and the Beatles and stuff.
Exactly, all of that.
He was famous for those kind of Russian hussar jackets, wasn't he?
All those hussar jackets, the
adamant appropriated later.
Exactly, yes.
The one with the hat here would be probably the most direct copy.
So this is
is
that the purple velvet jacket?
That is the purple velvet jacket with the silk pants and the silk brocade shirt. With, of course, the sparkly bow tie. But I think that, for me, if you look at and you Google anything about Sapphire Town, you'd probably have a look like that, The rest of them, we basically sort of diffused them and made them a little bit more demure and gave them a more European structure, I think, and a more modernized structure, you know what I mean?
The pattern you've got there on the one jacket you're sitting next to that guy with, what is that? Kind of like the very bold wallpapery type one.
It's very bold.
Using layman's terms.
Leave your grandmother's redecorating out of this.
You know
it's
what?
got 3 porcelain ducks flying across the back.
If you see the movement in fashion now, it is the movement in fashion is. I always hate this question. By the way, I'm going to tell you, Ethan, I hate you for this question.
Good.
But the fact is.
And I don't like fitted brocade jacket.
I was in
gold.
Birmingham. I saw this wallpapery jacket, and I thought I'd buy it.
If you look,
we sold that one last week, actually.
It's lovely. I love very loud, flamboyant clothes. Not looking at me on the podcast right now, but I wear shoes by Jeffrey West. I've got like leopard print suede,
leather
I've got
pants,
I've got lame
like
boots,
that.
I've got leather trousers.
Girls leather pants.
Oh, I love them.
Well, here in London, you can get away with
it.
that.
Well, you can't get leather trousers for men, really, unless
you
you go and
can't.
buy late. You can't exactly. I saw them yesterday, so I'm going to be coming. Also, the price isn't too bad. What trousers about 120ish?
Yeah, the trousers are about 120, but it depends.
And for the leather trousers as well, that's fantastic because like all Saint ones for the ladies, which I have bought 2 in the past, they're like 350, 250.
Oh no, but the ones that we're doing, it just depends what material you want. Because if you want 100% sheep napper, that's gonna be, you know, £300 because that's expensive. It just depends on what, because we've got the pattern. So it's all for me about the fit and the pattern.
For listeners who are unsure what Napa is, not everybody is.
Oh,
familiar
Aya
with Napa.
Napa, which is a holiday
very
destination
soft.
if you're a boozer and British.
Not
Very
the
soft
wine
Napa.
growing district of California either. It's
that-
lamb leather. It's soft, premium quality lamb skin leather.
I was wondering, is it? I've never actually really found this out, but is it softer just because the lambs are younger and therefore they haven't toughened up their skin?
They're
that
not
why?
really baby lambs. They're sort of lambs before they're like teenagers.
It's okay, I don't mind. I wear fur hats and stuff all the time.
They got to
I'm
puberty, then
the
they were
more dead, the more
slaughtered for
types of dead
fashion.
animal I have on me, the better. At one moment.
Oh my God.
It was a subtle tie-in to my reference to myself as sporting the
You see now
mutton
this
dressed as
brings
lamb range.
this brings me to answering your question quickly. The fact is that for me, I find that a lot of fashion is now everything is sort of embossed onto each other. So if you've got this wallpaper couch, you're gonna have the wallpaper jacket, and you're gonna have the wallpaper pants and the wallpaper shirt.
Yeah, mix
You
it
know,
up. Leather
it's
trousers,
almost like
the wallpaper.
you know what I mean.
jacket.
I still
That's
love
what I do.
that mix up. I
Yeah.
think that for me
It's like
is
double denim. You never do double denim, folks.
thank
if you listen to this with
you.
double denim,
You
switch
are
off
evil.
and stop subscribing to the show.
If you present Top Gear, you might, but
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Well,
I
so
see it more and more actually now again.
I
It's
just
just
don't
like,
get it.
no.
those
I just
floral
don't
men's
get it.
shirts
'Cause
that
they
men in
never
their
match.
40s and 50s wear, the Jeremy Clarkson
the
Then
Paul
shirts.
those
Smith
floral
shirts,
shirts
yeah.
and then the floral pants and the floral jacket. It's guys, look, please don't believe these designers. They're fucking lying. That shit looks terrible. I'm sorry, it looks terrible. Like you can put one item on, break it down, break it
I mean,
break
it kind
down.
of works for a catwalk look, but not many people in normal life can carry it off.
Exactly.
I mean,
The
to
fat
pick
bald
up that
guy,
point, I
babe.
think
Catwalk looks
in everyday
meant to
life,
be ridiculous
and
and flamboyant and like the
But-
massive.
Yeah.
but
like
you
said,
have
the
those
high
design
fashion
cues
stuff.
which wash down. But I think the point is for a guy, in these more relaxed times, a guy's, can mark himself out. Everywhere wears loafers and jeans, open neck shirt. But the jacket is where you really make your mark. And so we try to cater for those people who may come from anywhere within the country and might not wear them back in Cockermouth.
Yeah.
Might not wear them back in. A friend of ours is from
That's your new
Cockermouth in
fashion
Cumbria.
label. That's a sub-label of your label.
Then
Cockermouth, I like that.
there's a reference for a good friend of ours, Craig Milburn, a great supporter of the company.
Oh my
Then you might not wear them back in
I'll-
Cumbria.
Yeah.
But here in London, if you're going to the club, we
Boy,
have
I bet what you're wearing that jacket for.
I just like for real.
it's across
just
the Pennines,
don't
but I get it. Yeah.
if it doesn't look good, if it smells like fire, if it smells like smoke, is fire. Honestly, like just do not go out and pull off something that these designers are telling you to
No,
wear,
exactly.
because unless you're a model-esque person like Ethan or myself,
I'm not. Can we stop
you
saying-
can.
Everyone look
you
at the
can-
webcam.
You can
Severe
like
facial
do
deficits.
it. You know what I mean? You
Got
can
no
rock
symmetry.
it. You know.
But these days, with reality TV shows, the likes of Towie and Made in Chelsea, everyone's being a star, everyone having the 15 minutes of shame.
Yeah.
Shame.
Fame.
Oh,
Freudian
Freudian.
slip. Shame. Then,
You're
do
throwing
you know
some
something?
I
shame.
like that. That was good.
Peter's
Then-
throwing some shade. We love you,
Then-
Towie. We don't have anything against
Then
Towie
that
people.
kind of footballers' wives aesthetic,
Yeah.
there's no shame about it.
No,
You
of
can
course,
parade
yeah.
peacock like
Juicy couture
Around-
tracksuits.
around Piccadilly in your your wallpaper gold finery, and no one bats an eyelid, even if you are from Cockermouth.
Yeah. So in any case, I think we've said that. I think be aware of fashion. Know what feels good to you and know what works with your shape and body. Do not let somebody lie to you and say, "Girl, the next biggest thing is jelly on your head, bitch, please." You know what I mean? Like use your freaking logic. Stick to what works for your shape.
Mentioning girls, I think it's a fair point, Sibu, to also mention that Sibu Dladla's collections, Jaded Life's collections in the past, have incorporated women's wear,
Yes.
which again is
We are
given.
going to be moving towards women's wear
Oh, great.
again.
Okay.
Because it is more lucrative. Simply, it's a commercial movement. As much as I've always done women's wear,
Yeah.
and I wanted to just have a break and do some menswear, I do love doing menswear. I'll continue to do menswear. I'll continue to support my brothers and make them look fly.
What's the difficulty with menswear? Is it hard to get men to wear more flamboyant styles?
Which is you have a smaller market, basically, isn't
absolutely.
it?
It's like
so much more acceptable for
how would
women.
you break those boundaries?
I mean, like what you were saying, that it's so much more acceptable for women to do like many like clashing fabrics, all in multiple florals, and pull it off,
throw a sparkler on the head.
When you see a couple,
and people look at Lady Gaga and stuff and everything, they're like, oh well, they look normal compared to her, you know.
Exactly.
It's totally
when you see a
acceptable.
couple walking down the street, though, a man and woman, the man's always in like fucking jeans and shirt, and that's it, and she's always dressed up and is amazing. And
I've tried so hard to change that perception because it's so embedded in us because it's your dad and your grandfather. Well, me and you try to change it. We make it look good. But I think there are guys who are out there. When I go out and the friends I have, and I think maybe it's due to because they're in fashion, they do make that effort, and I love it. I'm like, wow, I look forward to seeing you because I know you're gonna look good. You know, whenever you have that, I edge people on to like just jump off that edge and try something new. I mean, you cannot go out in chinos and a white shirt again. Like, this is 2000.
It's the worry of how people react, though. We've got a friend, we won't mention his name, but he went out once in an outfit and he said, these guys were laughing at me and I wanted to beat him up. And I always go, well, when people have that reaction to you, it's because you're being who you want to be and they're not. And because they're trapped in that very narrow paradigm, they react in a kind of...
how weird is that?
We're here at Stone Story again from the centre of happening, glitzy, fashionable, brightly lit West End, the metropolitan, cosmopolitan and metrosexual capital of Europe.
I want to quickly break it down.
It shouldn't really matter, and it doesn't in the men, I don't think. I think men are much bolder, and they just don't care.
I'd like to ask
There's a
this
peacock
question
syndrome
also.
too. Some guys are more vain and are happy to be vain. You know, look at sales of men's
I
cosmetics.
think some guys just
and
aren't as vain though. Maybe and it's gonna be hard to like convert them away.
When you
They
get a
just
reaction
they
from
like
people,
not
though.
having to put that
But
much
why
effort.
is there always got to be that one guy in the group who's gonna go out of his way to make the other person feel uncomfortable? I mean, like I was wearing leopard print once with a fur coat. Okay, great. It might not be the convention that you know, but I'll send you the photos. Really hard. But at the end of the day, this guy came up to me and he was just like, "Whatever. Are you a bird?" Or I didn't even understand what language he was speaking. He must have been from Birmingham.
Does he know what a leopard is? Are you a flying leopard? I mean,
am I a flying? What do you think? I'm a harpy or something?
Well, they just say that because I think they measure themselves up against you and they come up short, and then they have to figure out a way of like making it right for them to put you down and take away.
It doesn't work. You know, with somebody like me.
You mentioned the Shoreditch tribe is interesting. The recognisable tribe. We were in Edinburgh recently. We saw one representative.
Where are you from?
Clearly.
You went Shoreditch. You're like,
Shoreditch. And it's interesting, you know. It's a London-specific thing. But the flamboyant peacock mentality or sensibility is present, and you can, and that's the area in which we work. We appeal partly, but not only.
But ironically, when we speak about the past, you know, because you guys had the dandies, you know, you had, and before that, you think of the French courts where the men were the peacocks, they were the beautiful people.
Restoration, wigs, makeup.
The
you know what I mean?
The statue to Beau Brummel in
actually,
German
this is
Street.
true. Like men's fashion now is actually comparatively dull compared to a lot of history.
I mean,
my
100
father
years ago,
always says like he kind of wishes. I mean, you know, he loves buying clothes for us, which is nice, the girls in the family. But
nice one. Nice
but he always says that, you know, he kind of wishes he'd been born like 150 years ago or something, and he could still wear, you know, ruffs or something, or Elizabethan obviously, but or you know, or sort of like wear like more ornate clothing, and it wasn't just the really standard, really standard sort of trousers and a shirt.
But don't you wish we could walk around dressed like
running in mining operation in the
I
South Seas? Damn it! I want to wear a frock coat.
I absolutely love
I normally dress up a lot, but even the leather trousers, you get funny reactions off people if you wear leather trousers and like you Jeffrey West shoes.
Absolutely.
Even when it's a negative reaction,
You
I
have
go
a look.
good
It's a
because
good
I've had
look.
an effect.
Exactly.
And
But
the ladies love it.
it's just a leather pair of pants.
It's to do with security,
It's ridiculous.
insecurities, and
You know what I mean? Like, I agree with what your dad says. He wishes he could go back there. I mean, with my dad, when I raided his closet and I saw some of the stuff from the 70s that he used to wear, I'm like, I want this. I still have some
It's
pieces.
another avenue of communication as well.
Absolutely.
So, you know, you just...
Expression.
well, that came to the fore, didn't it? With Bieber in the 60s, and
Bieber was from the 60s. He's like 19, isn't he?
Babe, are you Have
So
you had some?
funny.
I think the vodka's finally hit.
Bieber the shop.
Bieber the shop.
Oh, sorry.
Not the tattooed singer from
You
Canada.
might be having a sequin vodka behind my back.
Quickly.
Miss Bieber.
When
Who's Bieber?
when that sensibility came to the fore, the King's Road, fashionable, Carnaby Street, fashionable, 60s, swinging in London, Austin Powers, whatever, look came in. It was at that time only that really men were able to indulge those proclivities. And so it's always been there here in London.
Yeah.
But London is a platform for many people, you know, to go out. We're going tonight to this new club off Piccadilly to give a plug for Werewolf, the old Pagal Club.
Oh,
And,
yes. I
Forgot
saw
what I
things
right
about
there
this.
on the...
Okay.
Yeah.
come tonight.
And, you know,
Sounds
these
fun.
places encourage, promote decadence, individuality, and our clothes trying to cater for that. When I say individuality, also the last line will also bespoke one-off items. And I think it's very much a selling point. When the last guy bought the gold brocade jacket, it was a tie as it happens. Not overtly flamboyant, but he was reassured to know that he wouldn't bump into somebody else wearing the very same thing.
Yeah.
We've done a series of one-off things, and
Yeah.
people appreciate that. I think for quite a modest outlay too, actually.
I find.
Where is the store? You've got a store, right? It's on
We
Portobello?
have a store which is 293 Portobello.
Okay.
We are currently working on our second collection to go into one by one. I think it's important to be honest with our clients and to be honest with you guys. We weren't really happy with the first store.
There's
you
a
know,
new direction.
sometimes
There's a new direction
the-
in the collection, and we feel that the store in Berwick Street, in Soho,
it's more livelier.
the
It
Oxford
talks
Street
more
end of it
to
is
our-
more
to
in
our
keeping with
clients,
this.
Yeah. We've got a
Well,
young
Berwick's
client.
obviously famous for all its fabric shops. and
Exactly.
things.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's got a just
So you
an
still have
That's how we found it,
energy
actually.
and
Yeah,
a-
we were
a vibe.
shopping
You
for
still have
fabrics, and we came
the
across one by
Portobello
one.
one?
Love
We
their
do
stuff.
have Portobello, but we are minimizing our stock there
Involvement, yeah, okay.
until we. I think at the end of the day, what happened was just a lack of marketing on their side and miscommunication on our side. That's what happens all the time in life. If you're
It's
not
trial and error, and we
Yeah,
feel
trial
that
and
Soho is a
Yeah.
better home
And
for
you
our
know-
Probably, I think.
New
Yeah.
and
collection.
we've been out for 6 months, and we want to take a lot more time in doing our clothes itself. We want to make sure that everything is perfect, and the ideas and the concepts are they resonate within the clothes themselves, and they speak to the actual person who's buying them and wearing them, and they feel comfortable and happy to wear those things. I think all our garments. I never want to burn bridges. At the end of the day, we could go back there. We're happy to be there, but until they market the store a little bit better, because we felt like we had to do everything. You know, I can't be in a store when I'm marketing my brand, marketing your store. You know, having to. It's just ridiculous. You know what
It's
I mean?
important to have a range of stockists, but not least for the requirement for these external
Of
funders
course,
too.
Yeah,
To have a number of stockists. You know.
Doing
Ideally,
fashion
down the
stuff,
line,
yeah.
we would like to be in.
Well, you want a concession in department stores and things.
Absolutely. I mean,
yeah,
we
down the
were
line,
working
Harvey
down the
Nichols,
line
Contemporary
to-
Collections, Selfridges,
Yeah.
Liberties who wouldn't want to be there.
Also,
but
like down the next 2 months, we're going to be doing things like Wolf and Badger. You
Oh,
know, and we're
really?
going to be
Well, that's
doing.
where I saw you last, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was,
we're
that's
going to
right,
be doing
you got
Wolf and
your page from
Badger.
there.
concept stores.
And we're going to see how, because there's always people talking about stuff like that. And I love shows like this, because if any of these people listen, it's like, get your act straight, because you don't have the best. No matter what you think, you don't have a good reputation. I mean, that's why I didn't jump on it, because everyone who's been in there has told me, run. You know, but you go in the shop and it looks amazing. So I don't want to put anyone down. I have not personally been in the way in talks with them to get our second collection there also. However, we prefer to go with somebody more organic, like one by one.
I think
Okay.
also it's an important point that maybe people who are not au fait with the fashion industry would perhaps be able to readily appreciate is that the relationship between a designer and a buyer is key. We're not producing for an undefined market.
Right.
We need to have a buyer who believes in us and will stock the product, and the customers know where to go and buy it. It's as simple as that. So the buyer-design relationship is quite key, really. You can't design every fair leaf and hope that there's a market out there,
Yeah.
because there may be one, but likely is there won't be one. So this is a key relationship we try to build up. So in discussions with this stockist in Berwick Street, we feel that's a way to maximize sales. We're selling products at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah.
That's a great soundbite
So
for your
when is
website,
your-
by the way.
So
When
a more exciting thing I want to
Exciting,
talk
what was
about,
that?
if you don't
when
mind me
when is your
jumping.
second collection coming out? Then? Is it-
This is what we're doing. This is going to bring me to the next point
Oh,
of
I
what
see.
we're
Okay.
talking. So the very exciting thing is, obviously we talked about institutions that help young designers, right? We have been working with the East London Business Centre, and they've now just got us onto crowdfunding.
I was actually going to ask earlier when we were talking, but we kind of moved on too quickly. But when we were talking about funding, I was going to say, have you ever considered Kickstarter or something?
Absolutely.
We had to get there.
As we
baby.
speak.
We
Yeah,
had,
okay,
we
here
had
we
to
go.
get there. Okay, like we had to just like slowly get there. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, okay, so I'm super excited because I think, guys, as a designer, as anybody who's an artist and entrepreneur,
Yeah.
do it yourself.
I know.
Do it yourself, girl, so that you own it and you know that no matter what, you did it on your own steam. You
Yeah.
know? There's
For
so
me,
many
for
people.
me, we have absolutely everything to
do
gain.
not interrupt me
Yeah.
again, bitch. I'm sorry, but do not interrupt me.
Mutiny on the podcast.
I just want to say, like, at the end of the day, we have had people come up to us and say, we'll give you money
Yeah.
for an equity stake. But 2 years down the line, if your company is worth $1 million, and this is just being honest, I believe in myself. If you
Yeah.
believe in yourself, then you can price yourself in whatever you want to price yourself. But at the end of the day, I don't want to then kick myself and say, I gave this person an equity stake of my company without even flinching, and he's now got 20% of $1 million company. I mean, companies start from nothing, guys. Remember, the world was built like that. 100 years ago, all the companies we have now, which are billion-dollar companies, they weren't even around, you know. So we've got 100 years more to go. So think about the future. So with this whole new thing with Kickstart is the most exciting thing. I believe having people buy into your product.
Yeah. It makes sense to you because you're a company that
Unbelievable.
creates actual products, whereas obviously for some companies
Holla, girl.
There's no
the structure
subcontractors.
No,
it's
it's
harder to use Kickstarter
It's
because
tailor-made, no pun
Yeah.
intended, for the likes of the fashion industry.
yes,
It's amazing.
or film or something where people
Absolutely.
can buy the finished product. You know?
Absolutely. I mean,
Which
we've
is
got our various
ideal.
rewards. We've got
It is ideal.
people ranging from a T-shirt. We're going to be giving people a T-shirt at £20, and we're going to be
With
giving
the great slogan,
an
you like sound bites, Ethan. The slogan on the t-shirt
This
is,
is my slogan.
Sibu says,
I'm joking. Wear fashion responsibly, which is a very important thing. You know, it's a
Like,
double
don't go out in a
tantrum.
t-shirt, but with no trousers and underwear. You know what I
If
mean?
you find that's irresponsible, then don't do it.
yeah, listeners from Cockermouth.
But I think it's an amazing platform. I was telling my brother about it. As you know, he's the musician, and I was like, guys, get your album out there. You know, let people get there, and your last gift could be like a VIP tour with you guys. You know,
Yeah.
like
Well, that's how
sell the
Kickstarter
last
began.
5 tickets at
Yeah.
£1,000, and let people
I think that's the
run
benefit.
around
We had
LA
Yeah.
with you guys.
I mean,
you
actually,
know?
our first guest on the show, like they just used Kickstarter to
Oh, really?
they'd released an album. It was a death metal band, and they'd released an album, but they didn't really think people wanted printed hard copies of it anymore. But it turns
The
out people
fans
did.
So
So they used the Kickstarter to fund
It's-
making
yeah.
hard copies
It's
of
the
the
fans
album.
often are the impetus of this thing.
I can't tell you how ingenious this. Whoever
Yeah.
did Kickstarter, that's for you. For real. And I'm sorry I don't know.
No,
your
it's
name,
a
but I
perfect-
Why
appreciate
the
it.
podcast or like your brother's music, I think you can now, with the technology and what you're doing, you don't need these kind of gatekeepers or big companies or something to go, well, I'll give you a chance or I'll give you some money.
my
And then now I
goodness.
own your soul. And I think now you can kind of bypass that in many
Yeah,
And I love that. I mean, the fact that when we had this, it just gave us a new energy. We just like, why didn't you know about this early on? Because now we have an opportunity to have people be a part of the company.
Yeah.
And for me, I prefer you to be a part of the company than them, if you know what I mean.
And
Because
actually, I think that's one of the best effects of Kickstarter, especially for like small companies, is that you build a client base too. It's not just getting the money in. It's then you have people who feel
They've
as
got
soon
a
as
stake in it in
I
some
read
way, so
somewhere
they're
that,
willing to buy it.
when people put it, more than when people get something from somewhere, when people put something into something, they feel actual more loyalty to it
Sure.
than the other way around,
Well,
because
it's
they
a
feel like
paternal feeling.
and they feel like they put effort in,
Yeah.
and therefore they're part of it.
It's a
So
virtuous
it's-
cycle with
I mean-
no downside risks. It really
Yeah.
is.
there is
That's why I
obviously
think
a
that there's
risk.
everything
The
to
fact
gain
is,
and nothing to lose with Kickstarter.
there is a risk, babe. At the end of the day, if you do not make that amount of money, it's all or nothing.
Okay.
So
yeah.
we do need that support 100%. or there's nothing.
Right.
A. B.
What's the amount you're going for? Are you going
we're going for £7,500,
Okay.
which
That's
is
all right.
not that much. I mean, look, I could just...
I think it's like good to have a moderate one though, because you can go over. A lot
Yeah.
of people go over massively.
Massively.
So-
I mean, the reason why we got into this is because of a company
And
that...
equally, you can miscalculate the other way. I was looking this morning on the site, and I'm a big supporter of the Globe Theatre, Shakespeare's Theatre in South London, and they're doing this Hamlet to Hamlet stage. I've noticed
Right.
they're 2/3 short of their target with 3 days to go. They're not going to make
I
it.
think they're short of
Maybe they're
£160,000.
testing the waters.
Yeah.
But with us, we've gone small in the hope that we'll be oversubscribed, so to speak,
Yeah.
in terms of patronage and in pledges. So
I mean,
it's kind of half the in some ways it's kind of a kidology. It's kind of maybe half the amount we really need, but we're hoping we're subscribed.
Yeah.
I think it's exciting. I mean, okay, we're launching that campaign
Within
I like
the
to
next
call
few
it,
days.
in the
Okay,
next few
great.
days, maybe I think about 2 weeks maximum from
Okay.
now. And then once that's out, we will just be going out there on blowhorns and trying to get that support from people, because I do rather have that organic person come into my company saying, I really like you and I want to support you, rather than some, the conglomerates machines.
And I really buy into the philosophy of it. The kind of can-do entrepreneurship, that very American
That really is
thing.
the
I think
point
that we
of
should
being
embrace
Zero
that.
to hero. Yeah.
Yeah.
That really is the point of why we're in it. Other than that,
So I was going to say, with the new collection, you mentioned earlier before we started the show that you might be not rebranding, but using Jaded as an umbrella and having Sibu not only the face but have his name on it.
My face is his face is fortune. Yes. The serious point is about the whole new development here within London of .London as a uppercase domain.
Yeah.
Selfridges, other shops have already gone for it, and at this stage. There are other companies called Sibu, by the way. There's an Austrian design company. There's a beauty
there's a
person.
makeup artist.
But we have a
company.
legitimate claim through his actual name. Sibu is half of his given name, Sibu Zusa, and you can check these things and verify these things as is required.
Yeah.
So www.sibu.london will be the new website domain
For the
through which
fashion.
we will market the fashion. Absolutely.
Okay.
So again, it's
just
significant.
reverting back to my
So
name.
what is it? Apart
So
from
we've
the .com, is it going to be Sibu-London?
It's just Sibu-London.
Sibu-London,
It's just
yeah.
That's
Sibu.
good.
It's basically just Sibu, which it's just Sibu.
Sibu-London's good as well.
Sibu-London, I love.
There's
absolutely.
Sibu-London, yeah.
The thing is, it
You
just
could have
comes...
Sibu New York, Sibu Japan.
Well, there's Berlin. There's Berlin have taken a lead in this. There's New York, I believe, yes. But so it does reflect the fact that we've made this journey, this transition from Cape Town to London. So we're more of an international output. London is increasingly.
I think Peter wants the people to come
with
to us
Milan.
and say, guys, can we offer you $1 million for the name?
I had to curse
I
him.
hope
actually.
that happens.
Just buy all the domain names. with
We're
Sibu
putting it out
quickly.
there for you people.
Well,
I'm
you can do
joking.
that, can't
No, the truth is, it is my name. I've been shying for years to use my name because of, for instance, give you an example, John Galliano, what happened to him? You know what I mean? After that
He
anti-Semitic...
lost the rights to his own.
He lost the rights to his own name.
As long as you don't become
Really?
a board
No,
secretary.
he did.
I didn't know
Of
that.
course, because John
Oh, because
Galliano is a
like-
trademark
It was part of
name and it's owned by the Dior Group, which is the luxury market group. Basically, they took his
ironic,
name and they
yeah.
took... And it's like, you can't even
It's
have
ironic
your own
that,
name.
that intellectually, in terms of intellectual property, that your own name isn't actually yours once you've marketed it and it's
To that extent.
with Company's House and with its
Right.
brand name. Yeah.
So it was not a sense of maybe I was overconfident. It was just a thing of I just believed in. I'd rather have a name like D Squared or Diesel
Right.
or Puma instead of having Sibu Dladla. But at the end of the day, I think that I have to.
Well, I think you're so charismatic and you have this like fantastic androgynous 1 in a million look. Why not just add the name to it? Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
again, it's a pleasingly short name. Like we mentioned earlier, Imam, for example. There are other models as Imam Chanel, for example, but the real Imam, the original Imam, the first
Or the
mid-70s
Sade or
supermodel
Sting
is...
or anyone with
Exactly.
A,
Anyone with when we talk about Robbie or Damon, we mean Williams and Alban. We know we're
Madonna.
talking about
Yeah.
first names people. And
Madonna.
I think Sibu has that charisma as a vehicle to not just market the brand, but other platforms too.
Yeah.
And so that was very much in mind. I jokingly said 8 years ago, I said, Sibu Inc. And we're going to move to America, but we'll be Sibu Inc. And I still jokingly refer to it as that. And we're actually moving towards that
yeah.
as an actual recognition of
But
name.
you'll keep Jaded as
So-
an umbrella term.
Yeah.
Jaded
Yeah.
will always be the event.
And maybe you should explain
You know what I
the
mean?
origin of the term
events.
jaded, because some
Yeah.
people misunderstand what jaded
It's a double
means.
conundrum, guys. It just basically is poking face at our current society and the state of our societies. You know, people walk outside with their Louis Vuitton bags and oh my God, my little pooch, and there are people dying. You know what I mean? Like there's just people dying, and we know there are people dying, and that's why we're saying it. You know, like you fucking jaded people. Like this is why you should wear jaded clothes.
Yeah.
Because we all know what's going on out there, but we just still prefer our little perfect lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why we called it Jaded. Jaded will still be the events company. I've desperately tried to move forward from the events company.
What about the women's wear? Will that have a different name?
No,
or?
that'll be Sibu. That'll
Oh, that'll be
all the
Sibu,
fashion will be
all
under
the fashion will
Sibu.
be Sibu. Okay.
And that will
Sibu men's and women.
Bitch by Sibu. I like that. I'm
Yes.
taking that as a trademark.
There had been
10%.
There had been various other
You
trade
get 10%. You
sub-brands.
get
There
more
was,
than
Jaded
10%.
Androgyny, for example, for
Yeah.
menswear before in South Africa. But yeah, moving towards that new model. What's your
Okay.
word earlier? Paradigm. Moving towards that new.
Split idea, dichotomy.
Yeah, the new dichotomy will still be. But of course, with the events, what has happened is, you know, I think that the way we have always been with regards to the ethos we have in our company, we have a dynamic way of just being able to recreate the wheel. I mean, if people come on, the wheel is the wheel. You know, we just put some pink paint on it.
I think it's
You
an
know,
important point
the-
to make because I mean we like to emulate that philosophy of well-known people like Paul Smith, classic with a twist. A jacket is a jacket at the end of the day. The fact that we have a lining from this.
Yeah, but a
and
jacket
from
with a
this
gold or silver arm is better.
Yeah,
I know.
absolutely, absolutely. So you can deconstruct and reassemble and call it what you will. A jacket is a jacket.
Yeah.
But we hopefully try and construe them in a way which is an individual statement.
No, all the stuff is like really fantastic. When I get some money together, I want to. In fact, you're moving on to a new collection now, but I want those stripy trousers
Okay, we can
Oh, really?
talk about it.
at some point, not right
See us
now.
after the show,
Yeah.
and we can.
But
Show
yeah,
me
the
what
red striped
you got.
trousers, the leather trousers.
Okay,
Yeah.
you can do that. We can definitely
you
talk
could be
about
the Ethan questionable.
In fact, viewers,
Yeah,
I'm
McKinley-
wearing one of their shirts now. Maybe Sibu can walk us through it as I go on the bed.
Oh, well,
Brilliant.
we've got a damask cotton, which is just basically a fancy word of saying it's a very light, summery cotton. We have got a paisley floral cuffs and a back yoke and a block
Panel. To you and me,
panel.
panel.
Yeah. So it's just our summery sort of nice out there. You know, we always love something that shows details. It could have just been a normal white shirt, but we love. Oh, you make it look so good, boy. Ooh, I want to jump over this table. It looks really, really good.
Don't rip
So,
my shirt.
I love a fitted shirt. They've got nice dots at the back to just give that nice slimming look for anybody. And it's really just relaxed sort of evening, day to evening, where you could put a nice jacket on that and you're ready to go out to a club, or you could wear that in a restaurant having a nice lunch with a girlfriend.
I worked for Asda, but that's me.
Sibu at George from
not?
Asda
Yeah.
doing a George collection.
George, call me George.
So yeah, there we go. Anything
Yeah.
else you'd like to add, gentlemen?
Oh, thank you for having us over.
No, thank you for coming on. We're honoured.
It is wonderful, yeah. So wait, to
Unbelievable.
summarise, let's just
Summarize
so
everything.
you've got the new collection coming out. Is that after the Kickstarter is over?
Okay.
You'll finish the new collection, or
We will give you a quick summary. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
allowing us to do that. Okay, in layman's terms, we've got the Kickstarter, which is going to be the next campaign, which is obviously raising funds and giving people the opportunity to be a part of this happening.
When's the
place.
Kickstarter going to be up?
It'll be 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
Let's be
And
right.
then we're going to
Could
be
be days.
running the campaign
Imminent.
for a month. Simultaneously, we'll be showcasing at South Africa House, which is
Yes.
going to be also sponsored by the British Fashion Council.
That's on June the 13th,
June the
Friday,
13th.
June
oh,
the
the South
13th.
Africa House thing? Oh, it's
Yes.
in June. Okay.
We are still confirming the Fashion Week, Men's Fashion Week.
Ah, okay.
We are also confirmed for South Africa Fashion Week, which is going to be the men's
This
showcases.
is September, right? Coming.
This is going to be. You're talking about September. The one I'm talking about is in August. So I'll be quite busy from August to London Cape Town to London, I mean.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening right now.
Okay.
And in between that, trying to stock our shop, which is 1 by 1.
Right.
So
okay.
we're going to be quite busy.
Brilliant.
70 Berwick Street.
Okay.
We're going to be very busy.
W1.
And then in between that, we have a lot of interviews.
What's the timeline for the sort of female fashion line as well?
The female, I think
Asking
we're
for
looking
myself,
to do
really.
that. We're looking to do that in the next, maybe in the next collection.
Okay.
Definitely. I mean, I really hope we get the support we get, because
Yeah.
the support we get will then determine how we can maneuver into doing the women's fashion. But that is an itch that needs to be scratched,
Yeah.
and it needs to be scratched properly.
So where do our listeners and potential investors find you? You're on Twitter?
We are on Sibu Muse. That's SIBU Muse. I think you can spell Muse. If you don't, it's MUSE.
We'll hope no one is in that like denominator.
I thought he misspelled mouse. But it's
Peter
Muse, Sibu
is
Muse.
following me, so you guys just make sure. If
Is
you're
there a
trying to
Huffman Twitter?
There isn't a Huffam Twitter, no.
No,
But
there's
we have a,
The
we have
power
a,
behind the throne.
we have a
Peter is really the power behind the throne and the genius behind the mechanics. But at the end of the day, Peter and me, you can always get us together on Twitter, and you can get us on Facebook at Jaded Lifestyles.
Yeah. Is that .com or .co.uk?
That's .co.uk.
Jadedlifestyles.co.uk. That's there. You can buy all the clothes from there as well, can't you?
You can
Mm.
buy the
Yep.
clothes there. You can hit us up on Facebook, and just remember, just to keep a watch, because we are going to be changing the fashion domain to Sibu,
Okay.
and then the Jaded
London.
Life will be changed to the events.
Right.
So all the party people still keep it locked.
Well, all these links will actually pop up in the video at the end as we're speaking. So
Yeah.
if
fantastic.
people are listening, they can click on it, go straight to the website, straight to your Twitter.
Oh,
or,
so excited!
You know,
I'm so
in
excited.
a matter of days, hopefully, we can bang your
Bang
Kickstarter
me.
on.
Can they keep on
Might rip me
banging?
shirt.
So listen, thank you so much for having us over.
No,
Indeed,
thank you.
yeah.
Thank
It's
you
been
so
a blast.
much.
It's been
It's
fun.
been
Sibu Dladla, Peter Huffman, the fashion world is about to explode. Look out, Oswald Boateng, there's a new kid in town. Look out, everybody. Hey, girl!
And he's got blonde hair. Guys, thank you. Really,
yes.
on a
Thank
serious
you.
note,
Thanks,
I think
guys.
it's really important to be pushing the envelope like the way
And
you guys are.
in a
Appreciate
similar
it.
way, as you guys are, quite inventive and cutting edge in terms of your radio podcasts.
Well, we'll see. We hopefully.
No,
We're only
but-
5 shares in. We could die a death and do a
I
Kickstarter.
don't
Well,
believe
depends
questionable
how nice you are
too.
to me.
If people like me have time for you, you guys are gonna.
We
go
have
somewhere
to- we
far,
have to
trust me.
pro
You're
each
gonna
other
go
in
far.
Well,
this.
thank you.
Ever-changing
different.
technological.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really do. I really feel like not just you, but like a lot of people, even your brother, we're part of this like new wave of media and fashion and stuff. Where it's just like fuck it, punk rock, do it for yourself.
And I mean,
Anyone-
think-
I love that.
The thing
I
is,
love
there's
that
just so
attitude.
much out there, though, because it's so democratic that, sometimes maybe there's a lot of white noise to get through. But at the same time, I think people who are really talented do get noticed
Yeah.
at some point.
I'm so
Cream
happy.
rises to the top.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think keep real to what you really believe in. And I honestly, like I said to Peter, I wouldn't have come if I didn't believe in you guys.
Oh.
You the bomb shit.
Well,
You know
thank
what
you.
I'm saying?
Thank
It's a
you.
pleasure.
Actually,
We're
yeah,
honoured
I
by
know
your
that.
presence.
You guys are like I'm really like I
Can
feel.
we use that as a
honoured.
quote?
Well, I told him
I
about
feel
this.
honoured.
I told
I
you
feel
about this
honoured.
at a party like last November, I think, or last
Yeah.
Christmas. And
now here you
everyone
guys
probably just
are.
thought I was like full of shit because there was a Radio 1 DJ there actually, Gary. God, what was his name?
Davies.
Gary Davies was
Young,
there.
free and
Yeah.
single.
Yeah.
In his
But
day.
look, everybody starts from like societies and empires were built from nothing. So guys, let's build this empire, please.
Yeah.
Help
Let's
me
do
build
it,
this
and let's
empire.
start by
I
the
look forward to
listeners.
seeing everything that's coming up for you. I mean,
Yeah,
that sounds
me
really
too. With
exciting.
you guys, this
Yeah.
is going to be amazing. I want to be like,
We hope
what?
so. We've got
They
some
got
great guests
syndicated.
coming up. Yeah. So yeah. So listeners, support us by listening, and also support Sibu and Peter by buying their products. Jadedlifestyles.co.uk, Sibu Muse on Twitter, Alex.
Alex Consuelo.
If you could spell that, you're lucky. Ethan McKinley UK is my Twitter. And yeah, thanks for listening. Next week we've got Steve Strange coming up of Visage. And yeah, tune in then. And I hope, gentlemen, you come on the show
And what's the
next
common-
time. Keep
We
us
will.
updated. Keep coming on.
100%.
What's the common
100%.
link there? We've got, David Bowie, of course, is the common
David
link.
Bowie.
Him to visit. Oh, you do an impression too?
Hello.
Well,
Did I
we didn't
come
get
on
it
your
sing
podcast?
for you guys, but next time we'll come and we'll have
Well,
a
yeah, when the new
sing.
collection's ready and even the Kickstarter, come on again.
Thank
We'll
you so
get you a
much.
slot.
Love
Fantastic,
you.
thank you.
Bye,
Thanks.
everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Sibu. Bloop.
Hey.